As the kids would say, Walt was from the hood. We're talking about the area off Henry Street near Campbell Field, where both Walt and I grew up. Although much, much older than I. I knew Walt and his family at a very young age. I knew, for example, that Walt wasn't called Walt. Everyone called him Vaj, Polish for Walt. I knew Walt's dad. I knew he owned a local grocery store, Guts Market, on the site of today's Henry Street subway. I knew as a kid at Campbell's Field, when sides would be chosen to play ball, everybody wanted Vaj on their team. Vaj was the third out of 4 children in his family. His father, Walter, was 100% Polish, a quiet, gentle, unassuming man, while his mother, Rose, was 100% Croatian, a spark plug. Walt, like Pat, were baby boom children who attended both Catholic grade schools and high schools. And in high school, Vaj was selected the most shy in his mock elections. But in sports, Walt made his mark. In high school, Walt accomplished in those days what very few players did in high school athletics. He earned a varsity letter for baseball in all 4 years. In college, Vaj continued his baseball exploits at Central Michigan University, where he helped Central become a Mid-American Conference champion in 1977, and Walt's playing success helped Central in their first appearance in the NCAA Baseball National Tournament and became honorable mention in the MAC in the same year as an outfielder. Walt, of course, is married to his beautiful wife, Joan. Wave, Joan. Joan, besides being a wonderful individual in her own right, is that rare coach's wife that fully accepts the many hours away from the family, which is required to fulfill his duties. She has even been seen helping Walt on his personal masterpiece, the immaculate Mona Shores baseball field. Both Walt and Joan are blessed with 2 children, Amy, an accomplished attorney, and Annie, who is a political director of a PAC group in Washington, D.C. Professionally, Walter first began his teaching career at Muskegon Catholic, where he taught for 4 years. And then he had the opportunity to go to North Muskegon, where he became an excellent history teacher and, of course, coaching, and what a surprise, baseball, for 19 years. And then 12 years ago, in 2003, Walt called me and asked me my advice about coming to Mona Shores. We all know how that turned out. And in 2013, because of his superb reputation as an outstanding baseball coach and leader of young men, Walt was awarded entry into Michigan High School Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame. Like I've said, I've known Walt my entire life, and I've never heard a bad word spoken about him, ever. He leaves a legacy of professionalism that is rarely seen. Walt, like his father, is an unassuming man and very emotional. A man that has made us all better teachers and individuals for knowing him. And now, Shannon, it is your turn. I got through that pretty good.
You got this. Dean asked a couple weeks ago at QPD if anybody wanted to speak on behalf of Walt today. Although I'm not a big fan of
Did you hear that, Green? That was 2 weeks ago.
I decided to volunteer because I really wanted everyone to have a little window into the Walt that I know. I know we all know him on a professional level, but I'm very fortunate to know him on a personal level. I'm very blessed to be able to call Walt one of my very good friends. So, as my great mentor has taught me to do, I'll start with a story, as all good social studies teachers do. It was the spring of 2004, and I remember I was pregnant with my firstborn and probably a little bit more emotional than I normally am. And at the time, I'd been informed that cuts were coming, and I should be prepared to be pink slipped that spring. It had been weighing heavily in my mind, being pregnant, and just caused me a lot of anxiety. And I remember I was up in the copy room one day, and Walt came in, and we just kind of started chit-chatting, and he turned to me before he left, and he said, "You know, Shannon, I didn't come here to take anybody's job. I came here to spend Annie's high school years with her, and if anyone's leaving the social studies department at the end of the year, it will be me. You don't need to worry about your job, it's safe." And then he left, and I just, do you even remember that conversation, Walt?
No.
And he left, and I was like, I think he's serious. I think he really means that. And
I said it, I meant it.
yeah, I know. He's a man of his word. So, but I came to know that, of course, he really meant that, because that's the type of man that Walt is. So, I think that that's just like a little window of a man that, number one, lives by his word, but number two, just will always do the right thing. So, I decided after that interaction that I was going to seek out a more personal and professional relationship with Walt, because that interaction made such a big impact on me. And I just thought, like, if he was willing to quit his job for little old me and do the right thing, that he must be a man that lives a life of integrity. And little did I know at the time how right I really was. So throughout the last 12 years I've known Walt, he has exhibited this behavior in front of me time and again, as a coach, a teacher, an administrator, and a friend. He's been not only a great professional mentor to me, but also become a model of how I want to live my life. Walt, you are one of the very best people I know. You make me want to be better in all aspects of my life. I feel very privileged to call you my friend and my mentor. Words cannot express how much your absence will be felt next year. Your shoes will never be filled for me. Thank you for the countless hours of therapy, mentorship, and friendship you've given me. My parting wish for you is that you enjoy your retirement and you're able to spend it with the people that you love the most. Continue to be the man you are, honest, kind, and loving. We all love you, and we will miss you dearly.
I had nothing to do with
I
that.
apologize. It is. Okay. Well, we have many funny stories we could share about Walt. But as we were talking, many we thought were either inappropriate or I guess he had to be their moments. So it was difficult trying to come up with what to share. If you want to hear the inappropriate, come see us later.
Oh, like that one
Oh,
time?
yeah. Okay. Walt seems to think that he is quite the handyman. He's not. Because he actually owns a crescent wrench and maybe a tape measure. So we thought about playing Name That Tool, but after some careful thinking, we realized that game would quickly go downhill. Many of you might not know of Walt's love of reality TV, especially The Bachelor and Bachelorette. Oftentimes, I will text Walt during the show saying, "Are you watching this?" or "OMG, can you believe that just happened?" In the past, we would even do a little office pool, and all that were in it would pick who they thought would be the winner. Walt was pretty dead on in his picks until I realized he was actually checking out Reality Steve's spoiler alerts. Yeah. He did that.
Okay. You all may now, I'm sure, have heard about the infamous April Fool's Day joke with the copy machines. Well, yes, there were others that were caught doing this. However, Carrie and I were the only ones to witness Walt. When he came in, all we could hear was, "Walt Gawkowski, for staple." And then he said it again louder the second time because the machine was listening. Carrie felt pretty bad about that. Well, a little bad. So she texted him later to make sure that he wasn't going to do it the next day.
Many times, he has not been aware that our hysterical laughter was because of him. Walt has a great love of sweets, and if you have cookies around, well, watch out. One time, I had a box of my favorite Girl Scout cookies, and Walt ended up eating 4 of them. If any of you know anything about Girl Scout cookies, is that 1, there aren't many in a box, and 2, it is impossible to open or close them quietly. Well, I was trying to quietly offer one to Becky, and quietly put them back in the box, we start to see Walt come around the corner. I dove under my desk with the box. Becky shoved a whole cookie in her mouth. Needless to say, we were hysterically laughing, and Walt standing there looking at us like, "What are you girls laughing at?" Walt, we needed that laugh.
Okay. As you can tell, the common theme so far has been fun and laughs, but really there was so much more. Walt would always have our backs in any situation that came up. The crazy parent calls, the uncomfortable student situations, he could always be counted on to take care of things diplomatically and with sensitivity. Ken is going to have big shoes to try and fill, but when we fail to tell him that he is also going to have to fill the Santa suit and the bunny ears, what a lucky guy.
You are going to be missed terribly, Walt, and you better plan on continued bachelor discussions, calls for blackjack tips, and maybe a crab rangoon or two.
All right, I'm very glad I get to say a few words about my good friend Walt. He's without a doubt the most influential person in my life when it comes to my career, coaching and teaching, and now in the front office. So I cherish these few words that I get to say to him publicly, to all of you. Walt began his career as an AD my first year as a teacher here. So I came in on the football staff, and the first interaction I had with Walt was when he had one of his beginning of the year coaches meetings. And from that one meeting, I realized that I was dealing with someone who was tremendous. He was organized, he was humble, he was passionate, all the things that we see on a daily basis, and I was able to see that on that first meeting. Walt is so quick to deflect any credit or praise, as you all know. When anyone comes to say how good something went, he'll deflect the credit and the praise to somebody else. Oftentimes the secretarial staff in the front office, or Shelley when he was the AD, or myself or Jennifer when people have nice things to say. But he has a lot to be proud of. He has a lot to be proud of in coaching, as Dean talked about a lot, the different accolades that he has received, but he also was not only a baseball coach. He was a very, very talented basketball coach, and even a golf coach, which he would take zero credit for. But I know he had a good practice plan, and he was putting the kids through exercise on a daily basis to make sure they were better. I also found out when I first started teaching here that my dad played against Walt in the City League back in the late 70s and early 80s, and I remember just saying his name to my dad, and right away it clicked to him who Walt Gawkowski was, because he remembered how good a player he was, and how everyone in the city knew that he was a great player. I thought that was pretty cool.